I was drafted November 1st, 1967 in Oakland, California.
So you were drafted in 1967.
Yes.
Did you know ahead of time that was likely to happen?
It was a given. I wasn't going to go to school. I was working in a sawmill, and if you're on the way out is to go to college. And I was not college material.
So what was your thinking? I mean, did it almost feel like, well, there's nothing I can do, or it's fine with me if I'm drafted? What was your own feeling about the inevitability of being drafted?
I was a conscientious objector, not a total conscientious objector, but I would go and be a medic or a cook or something like that. But I wouldn't carry weapons. So they made me a medic.
Did you register as a conscientious objector?
Yes.
And was that for religious reasons?
Yes.
Seventh-day Adventist?
Yes.
Okay. So you told them that you would serve, but you did not want to carry a weapon. Is that right?
Right.
So did you know then, right from the beginning, that you would be a medic?
That was the most likely thing. There were a few other things that they did with us, but almost always it was a medic. Maybe a cook or, some cases, a truck driver.
Were you? Did you object to the Vietnam War specifically, or was it just a general objection to war in general?
It's just war in general. But I grew up serving God and country and apple pie, if that makes any sense.
So you, on the one hand, did not want to carry a weapon, but it sounds like on the other hand, you did have the feeling that you wanted to serve your country.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but anyway, that's the way it was.
Yeah. When did you actually arrive in Vietnam?
About 2 a.m. on April the 7th.
Of 68?
Yes.
And where did you arrive?
Cam Bay.
What memories, if any, do you have of the long flight to Vietnam?
It was long and boring, and the fear was building the farther we went. We landed in Tokyo, and then we landed in Okinawa, and then Vietnam.
What was your first impression of Vietnam?
It was hot and humid and stunk.
Yeah. Once you go through processing, where were you stationed? Where were you based in Vietnam?
They sent me up to Pleiku, 4th Infantry Division, 1st State Infantry, and I was headquarters company, but they attached me to A company, and I was with them for 10.5 months.
How long were you in Vietnam before you saw or experienced something that drove home to you the fact that you were in a war zone?
A couple weeks.
Do you remember what that was, what you saw or experienced or heard that made this fact concrete to you that you were in a war zone?
We were on a fire base. It was Fire Base 29. It was L-shaped. There were 2 companies of us on it. We were right on the border of Cambodia and Laos in Vietnam before they 3 came together. And you'd sit there at night and watch the trucks, their headlights just blaring going down the other side of the border. I asked them, why in the world don't they let us go get rid of that? We stopped to that. So no, they didn't have any good answer. But we knew that it was coming up around us.
So I'm assuming that these were trucks coming down the Ho Chi Minh Trail?
Yes. I don't know whether the trucks came across the border or not, but they were packing it in.
Right.
They were building up around us.
So here's what I'm assuming, that you saw these trucks, you knew that they were trucks being driven by the enemy, and then you asked, well, shouldn't we take those out? And you're told, we can't do that.
it made no sense. We were over there to win a war. And they were just sitting there, let them do whatever they wanted to do.
What role did you play as a medic? Were you in a sort of a field hospital or a more established hospital, or what were you doing?
I was with the line company, an infantry company.
So you went out on patrol with the guys?
If it was platoon size or larger, but if it wasn't platoon size, in our company, the medics weren't allowed to go out.
So I'm assuming that on some of these occasions when you did go out, you experienced combat.
Not then. We just sat there and it came to us.
You mean you stay on the base and the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong, they attacked where you were?
Yes. And the 26th, when they hit us with full force, and I don't know how many there were. All I know is there was no place to go, and we had a 106 sitting up on top. A 106 is a recoilless rifle, and they used it pretty steady. And then all of a sudden it quit. And we found out that it had jammed around and jammed in it. 15, 20 minutes later, we found out that after that happened, the Vietnamese had gotten it, and I feel that if it hadn't jammed, that two companies would have been wiped out. And we were being attacked from all sides. And the Vietnamese got inside.
They got in the wire?
And got up there and got it. They took it over. Yeah. But it was useless to them by that time. There was no place to go. They had us totally surrounded.
Were you shooting this weapon that jammed?
No. I don't know who was shooting it. I mean, it was our weapon.
Yeah.
But I don't know who was running it. What I think happened, this is what I surmised after years of thinking about it and looking at what was going on in this country, but they had people in the ammo factories that would put not enough powder in the propellant to make the round go down tube. It would just stick there, and you couldn't drive them out. They're stuck. They're there.
So you feel that the weapon was sabotaged, basically?
Well, the round was probably sabotaged.
Now, what was the name? Was this a landing zone, or what? Where was this?
It was Firebase 29.
Firebase.
That's all I knew in the head.
Firebase 29. And was it? It sounds like it was overrun.
It was.
As you bring this back to your mind, then the Firebase 29 being overrun, you can see all of this in your mind. What kinds of things do you see?
Well, it was dark. It started just before dark because it wasn't in the area I was in where it started. But by the time it got dark, it enveloped the whole hillside. They had Puff up there doing his thing and dropping flares, so we could kind of see.
I mean, so it sounds like, there was very close fighting then.
Yes.
Even hand-to-hand fighting?
Pretty much up on the top side there. I remember when they got the gun. I saw that going on, but like I say, well, you couldn't really see. It was more vague shadows. And the fear was palpable.
Yeah.
We had to stay where we were. We couldn't go up and help because if we moved, then they would have another entry points. So the people who were up there had to take care of it.
Now, did you maintain your commitment to not carrying a weapon through this whole time?
Yes.
Wow. So what did you feel like, did as a medic, did you respond to any casualties on the base as this was unfolding?
When it first started, there was quite a few of them, and there was a tent down in our area. They used that as an aid station. And I went in there and I don't know how long I was there or what I did. Well, when this first sergeant had some shrapnel wounds in his belly. They didn't look very serious to me, but they were bleeding. And my attitude was, what am I supposed to do with this? Because they were just peppered with them. They give me these little 2x4 bandages, and that's what I got. And I'm supposed to bandage that big pot belly. I don't know what I did. I lost it.
Sure.
I hate to say it, but
What do you mean you lost it?
well, I don't remember what I did, except I remember them taking me back down to the line with my platoon.
Okay. How long did this whole event? How long did it take for this whole event to play out?
Well, it finished about daybreak.
And come daytime, when the sun came out, I imagine there were Vietnamese and American casualties all around.
Oh, yeah, and I can't tell you how many on either side.
Yeah.
At this point in time.
Yeah.
A lot more Vietnamese than Americans, though.
Now, did you go out with soldiers when they either would set ambushes or when they were ambushed?
If it was a platoon up to company size, yes. The smaller ones, squad size, no.
If you remember one of the ambush situations, either when the soldiers you were with set the ambush or were ambushed, what do you remember about that? How did that unfold?
Well, we would set an ambush. Usually nothing would show up in it. When I joined the company, everybody was gung-ho. After this incident on Firebase 29, everything changed.
How did it change?
Well, nobody cared anymore because we weren't there to win anything and everybody knew it. It was only self-preservation.
So you're saying there was a feeling among the soldiers that, we're in this war, killing and being killed, but there's really no point to it.
Right. And that was even with the people that had been in all their lives. There was a sergeant here that he'd been a Quad 50 operator in Korea as a private or whatever. And he talked about that a little bit. And his whole attitude changed. He just wanted to survive. So what they did was they would be sent out on patrol. Each platoon sent out a patrol every night.
Mm-hmm.
And they would, on paper, they would say they were where they were supposed to be. But in actuality, they were all together, which made pretty much almost full platoon strength. And I did get out once on one of the fire bases because I knew something was going on. I wanted to know what was going on. And they were in a very defensible space. They had, some big logs that had fallen, big trees. And they made almost a complete wall around this area. There was an area about 6-8 feet wide where there was no trees, no big logs lay on the ground. And they were inside that.
And were they were there setting an ambush?
Well, no. They were there for, the company commander didn't know where they were. I don't even think the platoon commanders knew where they were.
So what were they doing?
That's what they did instead of what they were supposed to do. And they spent their time there day and night. There's basically a platoon out to about a kilometer out.
So are you saying that they were supposed to be doing other things, but that they had just
They were supposed to be someplace else.
But they had just hunkered down in this place to avoid combat?
Yep.
And you're saying the reason for that is that they had just concluded that the people in charge don't really want to win this war anyway, so why should we fight and die?
That's what they said. It wasn't talked about. And I started going up as one of the squad leaders on his night to go out to talk to the forward observer. I wondered how that worked, and I asked him, "Well, come on, I'll show you." Well, the RTO, the forward observer, knew what was going on, and they would tell them where they were, and they'd have them in calling rounds to show where they were, and have them move them a little bit sometimes. Sometimes they just leave it where it was. So it always showed 5 patrols out when there were only 4, and they were all in one spot. So it was all sham, which I didn't blame them, but it was a toxic situation.
You referred earlier to bad things that happened. Is this the kind of thing you're referring to?
No, that's not the worst thing.
What is the worst thing?
We made friends with a squad leader in another platoon. I don't know why I made friends with him in particular. And after a few days, I discovered he wasn't liked.
He wasn't what?
Was not liked.
Oh, I see. Okay.
He didn't go along with the rest of the company. And one of his squad members came to me one day and told me, if he doesn't quit going clear out where he's supposed to, you are going to kill him.
Wow.
And I didn't think it would happen. When it did, it was years before my mind realized that I might have been able to stop that. I had help my doubts, so I could have, but I didn't even try.
So you're saying that they did kill him?
Oh, yes.
How did they do that?
We went out one day and he shot him in the back. And so they were attacked by the Vietnamese with M16s. And Vietnamese had M16s in that area. Probably ones that they'd captured from different people. Or that they had bought on the black market. Because there was a black market there, I know that. Because even though I was a conscientious objector, when I got back to leave the country, I had a gun signed out in my name, and I thought I'd never get out of the country.
You had a gun signed out in your name, and how did that happen?
Somebody signed it out for me.
In your name?
In my name.
Now, so this soldier wasn't liked, and why? What was it that other soldiers didn't like about him? Was it that he was shirking his duty, or?
He was doing what he was supposed to be doing.
Oh, I see. And these other guys didn't want to. These other guys were basically shirking their duty.
Well, yeah, which is what the whole platoon, the whole company was doing.
Okay.
And I don't know how high it went. His knowledge went. After that incident with my friend, I never talked to anybody outside the platoon. And basically, I went down right on the line and spent the time with one of the squads and talked to the platoon commander or anything. I don't even know his name anymore. I know that for quite a while we didn't even have a lieutenant.
Yeah.
The highest rank we had was an instant E5.
Wow. So this guy was killed because he wanted to do what he was supposed to do, and the others did not, and so they saw him as a problem, and that's why they took him out.
Yeah.
I see.
That's what I'm advising, because of what they had told me.
So when he was killed, and the story was told that he was killed by the North Vietnamese, you knew that that was not true?
Pretty much, but I wouldn't let myself think about it.
Yeah.
At that point, I turned all emotions off. I had another emotion on the war in my life.
And so it sounds like part of the burden of this memory to you is just as you run it over in your mind, do you think that, you could have done something? You could have told somebody to get this guy out of danger?
I don't know. I tried to would have, should have, would have. Too many years of my life, literally, it consumed me.
This memory?
And I don't play it anymore. What is what is. I played it until 1998.
You played the tape of that memory in your mind until 1998?
I played the woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah.
And on everything.
And the woulda, shoulda, coulda was just, thinking, what should I have done once...
Well, what if I had done this? What if I had done that? I should have done this. I should have done that.
Yeah.
I could have done this. I could have done that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that. It was the whole thing.
Right. When you look back on your time in Vietnam, were you glad that of all the jobs you could have had, that medic is the job you did have?
Yes, because I couldn't have been a conscientious objector if I'd been any other way in being with an infantry company. And I don't have that on my conscience.
Do you feel that as a medic you were able to help save other people's lives?
Oh, I hope so. The thing is, you don't know. You send them back and you have no idea. Yeah. Whatever happened to them, 99% of them.
Right. Yeah, you don't get news on what happened.
You just send them back and that's the last you hear. You don't know nothing.